is Wednesday, May the 5th. Happy Cinco de Mayo. And this is my daily thought. Okay, I wasn't planning on doing a daily thought at first. I was considering doing a tarot reading, one of my anyone who needs to hear them reading. It's like a reading for the collective, for those of you who don't know. And I still might. It depends on what my mood is. I've been all over the place today because I've had like a sinus headache on and off for the past 2 days. So I'm just, but it's all good. Anyways, I'm thinking about a text I received last night. And for those who have been following the show faithfully, you know I love my mother. I love both my parents. And my mother is one of my heroes, just like my dad is one of my heroes. And for different reasons. They do different types of work and have introduced different types of things to my life. So I have them as hero status for different reasons. And I love them dearly. I'm more like my dad's mother, my granny. My granny was fine with a telephone call. She didn't mind seeing people if they came by, but for the most part, she was fine with the telephone call. And if you talk with her on the phone, she didn't talk that long. My granny would talk for like maybe a few minutes, and then that was the end of the call. I've been in that zone for a while where I don't necessarily have to see people in person, even though I'm thankful. It's always good when you have people in your life that they want to love you, they want to see you in person, they want to hug you and tell you, all the things that have been happening, and they want to hear all the things that have been happening in your life, and so on and so forth. I'm not really in that energy as much anymore. That's the only thing. As much as I love all of the people that I do talk to, and I talk to people on the phone, and I always tell people a phone call is always good enough. I never want people to feel pressured to see me in person. Anyone who's in my circle, whether it would be people that I consider friends or family or coworkers or what have you. And like I said, it's always nice that people do think enough of you where they want to see the physical you versus hearing your voice versus seeing you on a computer screen or something of that nature. That's always nice. I've just grown accustomed to talking on the phone or talking by text, and I'm not, I guess, as socialized as I used to be. It's almost like with everything that's been happening in the world, I always say to people, I was social distancing before it was popular. And that's just been kind of my thing. I've been to myself, and I've been focusing on my work because I work a lot. And the text that came in last night from my mother, she was asking about visiting. She was saying that her and my dad want to come out to Los Angeles and visit and all that other jazzy stuff. And I haven't replied yet, which that kind of irritates me too. Some people know, like, I don't mind a text from time to time, but when it comes to certain things, I talked about this during one of my tarot card readings. I forgot who it was, but someone was supposed to receive an offer. And which is kind of weird because that's what happened for the collective today on the 3-card tarot for today was an offer. But in this particular reading, someone was supposed to receive an offer. and the page of swords showed up. Usually when the page of swords show up, is something by electronic communication, is what it usually is, or either someone spying or something of that nature. And I was saying that this person wants to make you a serious offer. I want to say it was Virgo. This person wants to make you a serious offer, but I feel like this is coming in by electronic communication. And I was like, I feel like this is going to be either an offer to move or an offer for marriage or something very serious involving the home based off of the cards that were coming out. I was like, I would give the side eye to anybody who offered me anything serious via text. I'm just funny. I'm funny like that. And my mother sent me a text saying she wanted to visit. I would have preferred for her to call. I mean, she is my mother. If I'm not available to answer the phone, she can leave a message, which that's another thing. That can be an episode in itself, where people who don't leave messages irritate me. If you call, leave a message. Because if you don't leave a message, clearly it wasn't that important. But I always leave messages because I want people to know that I called. But I digress. So with my mother, she sent a text saying that, hey, we want to come out in sometime in June and visit you and do all of that stuff. So yeah. And it would be nice to see my parents. I just haven't been in that mindset. Why do I feel like this is turning into a therapy sesh? I might almost title this a therapy sesh. I just haven't been in that mindset because I've been so focused on work and building up the podcast and doing my regular job. Because for those of you who follow my podcast, you know I work a regular job too. In addition to that, I still have some other projects to finish outside of this podcast and outside of my regular job, which my goal is to work on while Mercury is in retrograde, which that is the other reason why I do not want to see my parents in June. Because Mercury will be in retrograde. For those who may not know, like I said, I love my mother. We just have a history sometimes where things get misunderstood or we just don't mesh. It is what it is. And one thing while Mercury is in retrograde, guess what happens? It is misunderstandings. Late communication or misunderstood communication are some of the things that happen while Mercury's in retrograde. Also, when it comes to traveling, the worst time to travel is while Mercury is in retrograde. So, on so many levels, I don't feel comfortable with the visit. July would be so much better. And I'm probably going to tell her that too. Because I was actually planning on taking some time to myself in July to work on other things, like a staycation. I think that's what they call it these days. I don't know who came up with that. People always come up with stuff, and for some reason it sticks in the English language, but whatever. So I was thinking of a staycation in July, and I was like, oh, well, since I was considering doing that anyway, July would probably be a better time to see my parents, and they can come out then, and I have to carve out time from all the other stuff I'm doing. It's just, I don't know. I view things so differently. One thing I look at when it comes to parents and family this is why I always tell people who are parents, if you have young kids, enjoy it while you can, because the years will fly. And when they fly, that is it. You can't get them back. Time travel is not official yet to go back to the past. So once the time is gone, it's a wrap for now. And I look at it from a point of, I've spent 20 years, which 20 years isn't a long time, but it's not a short time either. I've spent 20 years with my family, under the roof of my family, for the most part, give or take a few, where I was accessible all the time. And part of me feels, and this is more of me on a broad, I guess a general broad level, part of me feels that that was the time to soak up as much time from your children as possible while they were under the roof. Because when people leave, they develop lives of their own. And they have things going on in their lives that they may or may not tell other people. And parents being parents, they don't always take that into consideration. And I haven't seen my parents in probably in 3 years. I think it's been 3 years, 4 years at the most. But there are some people who haven't seen their parents or their family longer than that. And I'm thankful my parents are still around. And I hope that they're around for many, many more years to come. My grandparents actually lived, I think my mother's father lived into his late 70s. My grandmother in her mid 80s. My mother's mother. My granny lived to her 80s. My granddaddy, I want to say early 70s on my dad's side is what I want to say. And I'm hopeful that my parents will have that long life, because my parents are still young, because my parents had me and my brother young too. So I'm hopeful that they'll have that long life. And I don't take their lives for granted either. I still have a life of my own too, and I'm working on balancing out letting people in, whether it's my parents or other people that I deal with, letting people into my life. Because when I have a certain routine, that's usually what I stick to. It's rare I deviate from the routine. That's just how I am. And when people come and visit and do all of these other things, it forces me to deviate from the routine. More than likely, I'm going to say yes, but I'll say yes for July. I'll more than likely say yes for July. I don't see it happening in June. And I'll probably text. Well, no, I'm not going to text her. I will call her. Maybe after I finish recording this and just let her know June is not going to work. Let's do it in July and take it from there. So, yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. But when I was thinking about this whole situation, I was like, am I the only one who's fine with the phone call? I feel like everyone else is like, oh, I got to see you. And I'm like, just call me. You know, so it's all good. It's all good. Like I said, I love my parents. I love my parents very much. My parents have given me way more than a lot of children in the world have been given. My parents made sure my brother and I had all the best opportunities available. My dad worked 2 full-time jobs at one point. My dad also served in the military too. And I already told you with my mother, when I spoke about the Bill and Melinda Gates situation, where my mother was working 2 jobs and going to school to get her degree. And in the midst of all of this work that my parents were doing, they made sure that my brother and we didn't have to worry about anything at all. It was never a thing of, oh, where's food going to come from? Oh, are the lights going to be on? I'm not from one of those families. I didn't fall into that energy until after I left the house. And then it was like, oh, what am I going to eat this week? Okay, I have $5 in my account. I can use my debit card and it's only going to run it for about 50 cents or $1, so I can get gas and I'll just overdraw it and pay for it later. Woo! Good times. Those were the good old days. And I'm thankful for those good old days because it makes me appreciate everything I have now. And it made me appreciate everything that my parents made sure my brother and I had too. So, it's part of life, part of growing up. You live, you learn. But anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. That's my daily thought. Thank you for watching and listening as usual. Don't forget, KIRWKC.com, main podcasting platform. This podcast is carried on Apple, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Overcast, Bullhorn, Amazon Music, and Audible, as well as several other podcasting platforms. Listen to whatever platform works best for you. KIRWKC on all the social media platforms. Until next time, be blessed.